Go ahead and call a meeting to order. Do the roll call. Heather,
Here.
Marlene,
Here.
Joe,
Here.
Jim,
Here.
and Cindy or Kim. Approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of board minutes from October 24th, 2024.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the board minutes from October 24th, 2024.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any visitor comments?
None submitted.
Board member comments.
I'd like to make a comment. I just wanted to reach out and say thank you to everybody who responded on Friday. Wolf was there. I think that was your brother up above too. People were in the rafters and the ceiling and there was water everywhere, just gushing out of the ICU. The bed got wet. Phil was moving beds down the corridor and I was thinking, what is going on around here? And little did I know. So thank you guys very much.
So what exactly let go?
Hi there, this is Wolf. So what happened was a air bleeder in our hydronic heating system failed. And we had a couple others in that area that are also kind of on the brink of failure. So we're gonna be replacing those pretty soon. But yeah, as soon as that failed, there was no shut-off valves in the area. So we had to track that down. That's actually what my brother was doing. And it let out quite a bit of water. So thankfully it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it was still not
Say
great.
quite a bit. It's about.
How many gallons do you think?
It was a lot of gallons.
I don't know. It was quite
It
a
was not a
bit.
drip
We had
situation.
quite a few
Yeah.
trash cans around trying to catch the water. It was not great, but
Yeah, it was moving to another room and the water was traveling along pipes and then there was
Yeah,
pipes up there
there
that
was
were.
quite a bit of electrical in the area as well. Yeah, and it was all pretty stagnant water. It hadn't been moving, like circulating in a while, so it was pretty gross, but yeah.
Thank you for everyone's efforts in getting that cleaned up and fixed up. Any other board member comments? I'd like to comment on the fact that the Coast Guard presented Petersburg Medical Centers with a plaque today. Very nice looking one. And it says, presented to Petersburg Medical Center in recognition of your medical team's monumental efforts above and beyond the normal resources of the medical center to receive, stabilize, treat, and transport the 4 injured crew members of U.S. Coast Guard Rescue Helicopter 6016 on the night of November 13th to 14th, 2023. Thank you for your dedication and service. That was from the Coast Guard. Very nice plaque. Any other board member comments? Any reports? Resource, where's my go-to? Resource committee met, went over the stuff. We did take a little bit of a hit in the month of October on our investments, but they're on the rise again. It's to be expected as things go up and down there. Other than that, I don't remember anything significant that, or anything. And then we'll have another report from Jason later on that he can, if there's anything that I missed. CH. Yes, Marley?
I went to the Critical Access Hospital meeting, which was yesterday. The leak that happened Friday was definitely discussed. And those of you that missed the call-in show today on the radio, it was quite enlightening that basically every pressurized line in the hospital is at risk now. you know, they've reached the end of their expected lifespan. And this kind of thing can happen at any time. It was not a soil line this time. It was a water line. And the whole system cannot be replaced because of, that would mean that we would have to go and change everything to meet current codes. So these things are going to keep happening. The committee went over policy reviews and action items. Some of the things that they were paying close attention to is numbers from the clinic. So far in 2024, there's been 2,000 referrals from the clinic. Many of those are what would be considered internal referrals to home health, behavioral health, rehab, nutrition, wound care, things like that. And some of them certainly are external referrals to specialist care outside of Petersburg. Another key indicator being watched is access to care, how many people can be seen the same day if they have an acute problem, and how soon can they get an appointment with their regular doctor. The dietary department has started to give the residents in long-term care the ability to order ahead of time exactly what kind of a meal they would like to have. And that after the residents got used to that whole idea, they're really enjoying it. And it will also happen in acute care. And that's pretty much it.
On her report? Thank you, Marlene. LTC?
That's also me. And that was also yesterday. Again, policy that affect long-term care were being reviewed, action items were reviewed. There's a new position that is in long-term care. It's for a rehab tech. That means somebody that will learn from the physical therapists ways to help patients with their exercises and increasing their mobility and their ability to get in and out of a wheelchair or in and out of bed. It is an on-the-job training position. So this is a wonderful position for anybody who's interested perhaps in going into healthcare and wants to get their foot in the door. And it's open for applications now. Let's see, long-term care has implemented some more safety precautions. And they have, I believe they said 900 pages of new regulations from the federal agency CMS that are going to have to be implemented in the very near future. Another item they mentioned was the showers in most of the patient rooms are not set up or roomy enough so that you could really help somebody who's disabled to have a shower in those showers. So the patients use them as storage closets. And that's one of the safety things that's no longer going to be allowed. So storage is a critical problem for those people that live up there to have adequate storage for their possessions in their rooms. And finally, next week will be a Thanksgiving dinner in long-term care on Wednesday night. And they already have 48 guests signed up for that dinner. I'm wondering where there's going to be room for that. Thank you.
If I could just ask a quick question on a 900-page document that with new requirements, has anyone had a chance to look at that, see how bad we're going to be affected by it?
Jennifer's here to answer that wonderful question.
This is Jennifer Briner, and it's 900 pages of revised regulations. So they have put out a memo that kind of shows some areas of interest that they've changed. So we've quickly glanced at it. We just got it late last week, and we will be reviewing all of those areas to make sure that our policies and procedures are up to date with what they expect.
Thank you. And I would just like to note that Cindy has joined us also in the meeting. Infectious control.
This is Joe. I sit on that committee. I believe the next meeting's scheduled for December.
Reports, new facility. Did anyone have any comments or questions regarding the report by Justin? And you got some? Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Justin Wetzel with Arcadis. Give an update on the new work building progress. Site work, the water, sewer, power, storm drains, and communication pathways are completed, both in JOA and through the project site, and the extensions for the future hospital as well. So basically those are connected to the delineation line so that they can be tied into later. There was a temporary 300 kVA transformer installed in anticipation for a 500, which will be the permanent transformer for that building. And that kind of wraps up what's going on in the site work. As far as the building construction, interior metal framing is pretty much complete. Mechanical, electrical rough-in, first and second floor is complete. All the windows are installed and the building's essentially dried in. So it's weather sealed temporarily until they start the cladding and siding and everything. But it's weather tight, and they have temporary heat set up. And right now there's gypsum wallboard being installed on the second floor. And the majority of the gypsum is installed on the first floor, and they've started taping and painting. So it's progressing really well. In terms of the MRI addition, we're still kind of working out some final details with the coordination between Siemens and ETS Lindgren for the RF shielding. We still anticipate being able to get the footers poured, and then we'll be ordering steel for the addition versus the container unit, and that will kind of basically lag behind the rest of the building, but eventually, before substantial completion, will be caught up. Upcoming activities for December, it's mostly going to be working on interior gypsum wallboard, taping, painting, and eventually, probably towards the end of December and the new year, it'll probably transition into acoustical ceiling tile and casework. Any questions?
Thank you.
Just one
Yes,
question,
go
Chair.
ahead, Joe.
Yeah, so is will it need to warm up a little more for more concrete work to occur? Or can it happen now with these kind of temperatures?
Yeah, it can happen right now. There's kind of a threshold for that. There's ways to mitigate actual freezing conditions with insulation and temp cover. And eventually it'll have temporary cover basically in heat. So, yep.
No, thank you.
For sure.
Thank you, Justin. Quality report. Were there any questions on Stephanie's quality report? Thank you for that report, Stephanie. Any questions on Rachel's infection prevention report? Thank you, Rachel, for that report. Executive summary.
Okay, this is Phil. We covered a lot of stuff already with the comments and the Coast Guard and the water leak. But those are certainly high on my list of my thoughts. Just to add a little bit on the having the Coast Guard and the Admiral here, and it was really touching, and it was hard not to get emotional when have the whole group of medical staff and nursing and imaging and lab there, and they're talking, and they're basically having a debrief with the Coast Guard on the situation, and they provided an update on their personnel. It was just another reminder of why we're doing what we're doing and how awesome the staff are in that, I have the fortune to work with. So it was really, it was a great, I'm really thankful the Coast Guard came here and did that. That was really kind to them. And I felt like the staff also needed that as well. So. The work session for the assembly and the board at the last, I think the date, I don't know if it was mentioned at the last assembly meeting or if that's coming up. I don't know, Sheena, if that came from the clerk, but it was January 27th was the date that was floated at the assembly, and I just wanted to make sure that I was okay with the board. And I don't know if we don't necessarily have to do that now, but I want to bring that up in my report. See, otherwise, Justin gave a great update on the work building. We are, downgrading our visits, our site visits from weekly to monthly, and I don't believe we're going to do one more in December if the staff are there. I think they are going on holiday break, so it's possible we might have to move that into January as well. So more information to be reported on that. Advocacy, I'm going to strongly make sure that we're aware that we're at number one. We should be aware on the number one priority list for at the assembly meeting coming up, I believe on December 2nd or so. It'll be voting on that. So I just want to make sure that the board is aware of that, both for state and federal. It's really important to bring that forward so that we can have any potential for funding then would come through to the hospital if possible. So. Comment, I want to thank Brandy Boggs for doing the asset protection planning and long-term Medicaid sessions. They were very successful. There was a good turnout for that, and we're looking forward to having that come again when the next time she comes back up for a site visit for us. I don't think I had much more. I'm looking through my report here just to see if I missed anything. Tomorrow we'll have the Telestroke team here. This is with Airlift Northwest. They'll be doing a visit. We're trying to work with them to provide some more opportunity for specialties through, I believe it's Harborview. Is that right, Jennifer? Yeah. To provide services through a telestroke team that they have there, and working with them to provide more real-time assessments and support for our teams here. That's more information to come on that. We're still working with Specialty Clinic to find a time for search is surgeon for scopes, and we're playing phone tag and trying to find a date, and it's been a little bit of a challenge. So our telepsych, Dr. Sonkis is available, and we're working through our behavioral health and consultation from providers to set those up. I think that's it for me. Any questions? I'm probably missing a few things, I'm sure, but.
I did get to attend one of the sessions that Brandy did on planning for Medicaid and long-term care needs. It was excellent. There was a good turnout. It's a wonderful service that Brandy and PMC is providing to the community to get that information out, and she's taking the training to be a specialist to help people get through that eligibility process. And in February, there'll be more sessions, and I encourage people to pay attention to when those are going to happen and take advantage of that.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Any
I
other
did have
questions for
one-
Phil? Yes, go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, I had one, and I hope you can hear me. We had talked about my attending the Rural Hospital Conference in Texas in January, and I'm not sure of the timing of that, and would hope that that doesn't conflict with any planned work sessions.
We'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Any other questions for Phil? Thank you, Phil.
Thanks.
Financials.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, Jason.
So just checking, making sure everybody can hear me. So go through some of the highlights here. We always like to start with the statistics. And the front doorway to our hospital is always the clinic. You can't get into the hospital usually unless you go through the clinic or the ED, but prefer people go through the clinic. So busy October, 986 visits. Year to date, we have 3,584. This is 11% higher than it was last year. So our physicians and providers are very busy. Imaging exams, 229. That's about 5% higher than the same time last year. Lab tests down just a half a percentage point, so very close to the prior year. Rehab services down about 5%. Home health up 16% at 227 visits this past month. ED is down about 10% year to date from the prior year. So about 312 visits through the 4 months compared to 346. 64 for the month of October is consistent 65 the previous month. So I think our clinic really does an excellent job of trying to get people over into a clinic visit versus an ED. And I think, I bet the community really appreciates that. It saves a lot of money. So acute visits, 24 days this past month. And we quite a bit above last year, the year to date, 36%. Usually what this means is if we have more inpatient days, we might have to repay Medicare, but it's still early in the year and we could, typically we'll have some point in the year where we might be a little lighter and the numbers may balance back out with the previous year. Swing bed, very busy, 475 resident days or swing bed days as compared to 156 in the previous. So that's 200 times what we normally do this time of the year. Great for cash flow, but once again may indicate that we have to repay Medicare. Long-term care days, down just a little bit, 6% from the prior year. So we had 392 resident days in the month of October. That helps explain some of our revenues. When we glance at our revenues for the month, 552,000 in gross revenue compared to a budget of 335. It's because of the strong census. Outpatient down just a little bit, $22,000 below budget, but that's not too far. Long-term care, about $103,000 above budget for the month. The clinic is well above budget as well, 75. Home health, so strong gross revenues. Our contractual allowances, we did tuck away just a little bit with the high census, anticipating having to repay Medicare a little bit of money at some point. They double check our numbers twice during the year, and we do, it's called an interim rate review, so we might have to refund some money. But net patient revenues, $2,127,000 as compared to a budget of $1,009,000. So we're $224,000 above budget for the month. Year to date, we're about $1,345,000 above budget. That's due to the strong census on inpatient swing and even not long-term care. See the total operating revenues there. And then when we look at our expenses, total expenses are running above budget. We had a good discussion in the finance committee meeting, what might be causing that. I think we were a little light in budgeting for some of our Wages expense, maybe a little bit of an error in some calculation there, but our supplies and other things are a little higher due to increased patient volumes. So while our expenses are above budget, our revenues are higher than that. So our net income for the month is 44,960,000. That's $27,000 above budget. Year to date, our operating income is 790,000 compared to a budget of 71,000. So very, very strong. And once again, it just kind of indicates we'll see here in a month or two as we've completed our cost report here this week. We'll get it sent off next week to Medicare ahead of schedule. It's due by the 2nd of December, but we're finalizing the audit and the cost report. The audit indicates that Medicare owes us about $200,000 from last year's volumes and expenses and revenues. But each year is a new year, and our volumes are a little higher. So far we're indicating we might have to repay them. So we'll tuck that away and be prepared to repay that back to Medicare. Just an interesting relationship. The cost report program, they share in our losses, but they also share in our gains to make up for it. So, and then non-operating, which is what I call capital. This is where we record our investments and interest expense and our grants for the construction project. As was indicated, our investments dipped a little bit in the month of October, but rebounded here in November. So we'll see those come back up. And the grant revenues, as we complete construction, we record more grant revenues. So we recorded about $1 million in construction work and grants dollars earned. So our bottom line for the month was 962,000. And year to date, our bottom line with these extraordinary capital events is 5,841,000. So very strong. As I indicated, the business office, or excuse me, the accounting finance department has been fairly busy with the audits and the cost report. We've had a great experience with the new auditors. We'll get them scheduled, I think, probably in January. I'm not certain, but the audit is nearly complete, ahead of schedule, and the cost report as well. Working on a few other things. Some financial improvement projects with regards to 340B and things of that nature. So just a quick glance here. Our normal cash account sitting at 1,450,000. Investment account is 570. So we'll probably move some funds from our cash account into our investment account. This is just our short-term investments. We also have our long-term investments. And that is down here. I see that. About 350,000 or 3,500,000 in that account. And the other thing we kind of like to look at is our accounts payable. Normal, we owe about $1.2 million to various vendors and other short-term things. All of our accounts were within 30 days, nothing's being held. Accounts payable for the new facility. We get a pay application for the construction right at the end of the month, and so that's usually a little high. So we decided to kind of break that out so we can see what's our accounts payable for normal operations compared to the construction project. So thanks, Sarah and Joel, for a fine presentation in helping us see that information. So nothing else of a really big report. I would share with the board that the audit, we had one little thing right at the end that they wanted us to change. We were recording some revenues for Kinderskog as what we call it, a deferred revenue account, indicating that when we would spend that is when we would record it as revenue. And they wanted us to go ahead and record it all as revenue. So that improved our bottom line, but it was a change they felt that was more consistent with accounting standards. Had a couple of things that happened after we finalized the financial statements. We received $215,000 for a disproportionate share payment from the state of Alaska. So we recorded that. It had to deal with services in the previous year. So that improved our bottom line by $214,000. And then, of course, we had the final journal entry, which we ask our accountants to help us with, has to deal with the PERS. And so they look back and identify, based upon reports that came out several months ago from the state on a retirement program. And it posts a journal entry, but I always want to make sure that everyone knows that's not cash. It's because it makes our bottom line look much better. So it had a positive impact to the bottom line, I believe, of about $1.8 million. But it's not like we're paid that. So I don't, we'll share with you the numbers when we release the audit showing with and without the PERS, so you understand our financial performance without that extraordinary event. But everything was to the positive, and enjoyed the work with the auditors, and look forward to you meeting them. I think we're going to plan for that to be in person, and they give an excellent presentation, not only on the audit, but some statistical analysis. So I think that'll go well. Okay. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions for Jason? Thank you, Jason, for that report.
You're welcome.
New business, election of officers. Nominations, let's see. Board will elect officers for the next one-year term. Nominations from the floor. Election president.
I nominate Jared.
I'll second that.
Second that.
Anyone else want to do something different? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Vice president?
I nominate Cindy.
I'll second that.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Secretary?
I would move that we nominate Marlene.
I'll second that. Oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Okay. Well, that didn't change much for anything. Okay, amendment to resolution. Let me see if I can find that darn thing again. I had it here. Okay. Guess I'll read the whole thing. On May 25, 2023, Member Lakadakis moved to make a motion that the resolution regarding signatures for the bank investments accounts be repealed and replaced with number 1 and 2. At this time, we would like to consider adding number 3 in regard to long-term care resident funds. Resolved that the president and vice president and secretary of this non-incorporated association are fully authorized and empowered to be signers on the established investment accounts to transfer, endorse, sell, assign, set over, and deliver any and all shares of stock, options, bonds, debentures, notes, evidence of indebtedness, and other securities, and to make, execute, and deliver any and all written instruments necessary to or proper to effectuate the authority hereby conferred, and that all such transactions require the authorization of 2 signers on the account for such transactions to be authorized. Administration upon the separation of individuals from these positions as officers of the association shall be removed as signers on the account, and newly appointed officers of the board shall be added as signers on the account. Number 2, the board appointed officers of president, vice president, and secretary, the chief executive officer, CEO, and 2 other executive officers as directed by the CEO shall be signers on bank accounts to sign, checks, process the ACH transactions, and transfer funds between accounts within the bank accounts owned by the association. ACH transactions shall require a minimum of 2 authorizations. At the CEO's direction, staff and accounting roles such as the controller, accountant, and/or accounts payable clerk may be granted online access to banking and investment accounts to view transactions, print or download reports, and stop payment on checks. Administration is directed to remove and add board officers and executives as they separate from the organization or are appointed by the board or hired by the CEO. 3, PMC also has a fiduciary responsibility to oversee funds held in trust at First Bank, the balance which belongs to the residents of long-term care facility. In order to ensure timely transactions within statutory guidelines of resident requests, the CEO may appoint, remove staff signature authority on the trust account. Would anyone like to make a comment so that's better understood?
I have a question on number 3.
Yes, sir.
Is the different people in long-term care have individual accounts, or is this a single account for their use, or?
I'd ask Jennifer to respond. We have their individual accounts, but she can
Okay.
respond to them.
Yeah, Jim, they're called resident trust accounts, and some residents deposit money with us that they are interest-bearing accounts, and then we have to provide, I don't know if it's monthly or quarterly, there's a regulation about it, statements to them, and then they can request that money at any time. So they are individual, and then we have to have a, what's it called? A certification of insurance that we have, we have insurance for that, for those accounts. So it is definitely resident money in, I think it's in one account, but we keep it separate and do the interest on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Typically, it's one bank account, but we have a separate accounting record system that helps us to identify how much money belongs to each resident. And as indicated, there's a statement that they receive. They can request to know what their balances are at any given time. And these funds are used to pay for minor things, clothes, dental work, things of that nature.
So I have a couple questions.
Yes, Cindy.
And I'll turn up my volume here. Has our attorney looked over the change to say that that would be a reasonable thing to do, would be my first question. And then my second question would be, would this create any conflicts if a resident has a designated, an appointed financial representative who is other than the CEO?
Is it my understanding that this is verbiage from the bank that they need so that we can change signers on this account and streamline that process? So as people come and go, the signers can be changed. I believe that's what this is mostly for, is for the bank process.
And just so
Yeah.
long as it's a standard process, I'm fine with it, but I didn't know whether we were inventing something or whether this was a typical way of handling things.
It's a typical, we have had a resolution of this nature in place. It's worded in such a way that we don't have to pass a resolution every time we hire a new executive or we appoint a new board member. This one it was indicated, the number 3 dealing with the resident trust, is we had some people leave, and so we need to be able to remove them as a signer. Very important, and be able to add additional people. And it was something that was missed in the previous resolution that we had in place. And so with the change, we felt that it was time to update the resolution going forward. You will notice, it really has more to do with internal controls. You'll notice in what was being read there. So the CEO, board members, other executives of that nature are signers on account. But in the spirit of separation of duties, None of those individuals have access to check stock, they can't write a check. And so the accounting department, including the controller and our accountant or accounts payable, things of that nature, they create the checks, right? You know, they don't sign the checks, but they create them, or they create the ACH transfers. And then somebody else, CEO, board member, other executives complete them. So it's a two-stage process to ensure the protection of liquid assets of the organization.
Okay, thank you.
And you need a motion on this and pass this, correct? Yeah, yes, we do.
I move we approve the amendment to the resolution.
And I
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, be fine? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, passes. Okay, unfinished business, committee appointments. So presently, on the Quality Improvement Committee's long-term care is Marlene Cushing. Does Marlene wish to remain on there, or is there someone else who would like to be on there?
I'm willing to stay on there if no one else wants to get on it.
Me. Okay, Marlene's on long-term care. Infection control. Right now, Joe Stratman is on that, correct?
Yeah, this is Joe. That's correct. I enjoy the Infection Control Committee and I would like to stay on it, but if someone else wanted to do it, I wouldn't be hurt.
Anyone else want to be on the Infection Control Board? No one. Okay, Joe, you still got infection control. CAH.
Yeah, I'm also on the CAH and I'm happy to stay on it. I'm also happy to give that up. I mean, of the two, infection control and CAH, I like infection control more, but I'm happy to do CAH unless somebody new wants to do it. It's a daytime meeting that I can usually coincide with my lunch hour, usually, except I couldn't this last time. And thank you, Marlene, for going in my stead.
Welcome.
Does anyone else want to do the CAH? Shaking their hands, so we'll leave you on there, Joe. Resource Committee. Currently, it's myself, Cindy Lakadakis, and Heather Kahn. Heather said she would step off if someone else wanted to be on that board.
And I would like to stay on.
Okay. Jim, do you have any desire to be on the Resource Committee?
What is its schedule? That's my on. I mean, they meet occasionally, or what's
It's,
Go ahead.
yeah, it's monthly and it's usually it's either the week, well, it's the same week as the board meeting has been running, it seems like.
Times are flexible.
But
I mean, if you need some on that, I can.
Okay. Well, we'll give it a try.
Okay.
Put Jim on Resource Committee. Joint Conference Committee, that's usually the board president. Foundation Committee. Heather is presently on it.
I would like to get off of the evaluation committee. I've been doing that one for a really, really long time. And I would be willing to go on either Kinderskog or Foundation Committee if anybody who's doing those is interested in evaluation. The evaluation committee work takes place in the summer.
I can stop you. I can do that one.
Okay. So Marlene will take Foundation Committee now. Community engagement. Right now, it's myself and Marlene. there a reason I'm on that?
It's not a very super active committee, but.
Right.
it's-
So if someone else wants to be on there, that's fine with me. Otherwise, I'll stay there. And what about you, Marlene?
Yes.
You'll stay there. Anyone else want to be on community engagement?
I would be willing to help out.
Okay. Cindy. And evaluation committee, right now it's myself, was Marlene and Kim, and I don't know what Kim's, if she still wanted to be on there or not. I'll stay on there, and it sounds like Heather would be interested to go on there. Is anyone else interested in the evaluation committee? Leave Kim there until she says she doesn't want it if we, next communication. Bylaws committee presently is myself, Joe Stratman, and Cindy Lakadakis.
And I think I'm gonna step off of that one if there's someone who's interested in taking that one on.
I wouldn't mind doing that. I've done a lot of work on the bylaws in the past.
Okay, we can put Jim on there. Okay, how about you, Joe? Will you stay on there?
Sure, yeah, I'd like to,
Okay, sweet.
unless somebody else wants the spot.
Kinderstog Advisory Committee. Presently is Cindy.
And I enjoy that, but if somebody else would like to try it out for a while, I'm flexible. Sounds like I'm on that committee again.
Okay, still there.
Thank you, guys.
Is there any that I missed?
So, no.
Okay, sounds like we got that taken care of unless Kim doesn't want to stay on the valuation one. Next meeting? One in December?
Won't be in town. I could log in if you guys are gonna be on, but I'm not gonna be in town though.
Sometimes we've skipped the December meeting.
Skip that and do
Usually we
January.
skip the one of them, November or December.
Well, we had one in, having one in November, so December might be the one to do it because we run out of options fairly quickly there. So no,
And I'm not back until the 20th of December.
right. So would we then set a meeting in January at this meeting, I guess? Set one in January, what would be the best date?
That work session on the 27th, if that still works for everyone.
7th would
Just
be
to
a
keep
work
that-
session and then do a meeting on the 30th?
That would be great. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll plan on the 30th of January.
Yeah, this is Joe. I have to go to Board of Fish, and I don't know whether I'm going in early February or late January, so I'll, the starts on the 25th, around the 25th. I'll let you know.
And I'll be absent for that meeting.
What's that?
On the 30th, I'll be absent.
Okay. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion that we go into executive session?
And that's to consider medical staff appointments and reappointments
Yes.
and legal matters.
Legal, yeah.
And I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.